Have you ever stopped and wondered if maybe your spiritual life has started to look a little bit like a heavily filtered social media feed? You know exactly what I mean. Perfectly curated aesthetics on the outside, looking great for the timeline, but deep down completely lacking that raw, powerful reality on the inside. Well, welcome to today's Explainer, where we are cutting straight through the digital noise. We're breaking down a really thought-provoking message from Pastor Silas Neto. He's challenging us to look at the massive difference between a manufactured, hype-driven religious experience and a genuine, life-altering revival that actually hits your everyday routine.
So, where are we heading today? We're going to start by diagnosing this idea of the filtered church. From there, we'll run through a chronological, historical blueprint pulled straight from the book of Acts, specifically chapters 1, 2, and 4. And finally, we'll wrap up with the actual formula for bringing real, organic revival directly into your mundane Monday morning routine.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the filter and the reality, or what happens when religion just becomes hype. This is all about the very real danger of treating your faith like it's a curated algorithm.
There's a huge, stark contrast here. Think of the artificial church as that filtered profile. It's incredibly reliant on catching the latest internet trends. It uses carefully engineered human methodologies, and it's fantastic at creating these highly emotional, highly produced stage experiences. But a real revival, it completely bypasses the hype. It brings about actual social and cultural transformation. We're talking deep, undeniable character change and real miracles through the Holy Spirit. Basically, the artificial church might give you an amazing Sunday show, but a real revival actually changes the society you wake up to on Monday.
If you're going to take one pocket phrase from this entire explainer to carry with you all week, make it this one. The artificial imitates, but it does not generate life. Think about modern artificial intelligence for a second. AI can structure a beautiful essay. It can even mimic human empathy perfectly. But human engineering can only imitate emotion. It absolutely cannot generate real, spontaneous spiritual life or heal the sick. That kind of profound reality, that is exclusively the work of the Holy Spirit.
Moving right along to Section 2, let's jump into Acts chapter 1. We're going to look at how the early disciples actively prepared themselves for an ultimate reality check right before the Holy Spirit arrived.
You see, before Pentecost even happened, there was a very clear process of preparation. First, the disciples waited in Jerusalem exactly as they were instructed, no rushing ahead. Then, they replaced Judas with Matthias, essentially repairing their broken foundation. And finally, they formally closed out the old cycles of the Old Testament so they could be ready for something entirely new. Think about it like tidying up your house before an incredibly important guest arrives. God's movement doesn't just happen. It requires us to establish some order and alignment first.
And that's the crucial argument here. An organic, powerful movement of God absolutely demands order in our daily lives. The Spirit doesn't just fall on chaos, it falls on preparation. You honestly cannot expect a massive, reality-shifting movement of God in your life if you're flat-out refusing to clean up the mess in your everyday, daily habits. Now for Section 3, Acts chapter 2, the ageless promise. Let's see what actually happens when this long-awaited promise of the Holy Spirit finally touches down. Spoiler alert, it completely bypasses human demographics.
When this outpouring hits, there is absolutely no VIP section. It touches everyone. Young people who are so often anesthetized by digital hallucinations and worldly illusions suddenly trade those in for clear divine visions of God. The elderly, who maybe thought their best days were behind them, dare to dream big again. And the everyday ordinary workers, they are suddenly filled with extraordinary divine purpose right in the middle of their completely normal Monday morning commute.
This brings us to a really grounding reminder. The promise is greater than the trend. While the artificial church is out there completely exhausting itself, constantly chasing fleeting internet trends just to stay culturally relevant for 5 more minutes, God is delivering a permanent promise. Trends come and go with whatever the algorithm dictates today, but the promise of the Holy Spirit, that never expires. And within that eternal promise, Paul reminds the church to eagerly, diligently seek spiritual gifts, specifically the ability to prophesy. Now, we're not talking about carnival fortune-telling here. We're talking about having the spiritual sensitivity to actually hear what God is saying, and then having the boldness to speak His truth directly into your daily environment, cutting right through all that artificial, filtered noise. That brings us to Section 4, Acts chapter 4, the crisis response. It's time to look at how a truly revived group of completely ordinary people handles a sudden, incredibly intense crisis.
The sequence of events here happens incredibly fast. On day 1, you have a genuine miracle. Peter and John heal a sick man. Boom. But by day 2, because they demonstrated this real, unfiltered power, they are arrested, interrogated, and seriously threatened by the authorities. But notice what they did. When they were threatened, they didn't jump online to complain. They didn't launch a PR campaign to defend their image. No, they went straight back to their community, and they bent their knees in prayer.
Instead of seeking social validation, they asked God for one specific thing, parousia. Let's de-jargonize that term for a second. Parousia simply means holy boldness. It's a spirit-inspired courage to announce the truth and face a crisis head-on. They didn't pray for God to magically remove the threats. They asked for the absolute guts to stand strong right in the middle of them.
This is honestly the ultimate crisis response checklist. Skip the internet debates, don't go on a podcast tour seeking justification. Instead, gather your community in unity. Recognize that absolutely nothing escapes God's sovereign control, and cry out for that spiritual boldness, that parousia. The artificial church relies on public relations, but a revived church, it relies entirely on prayer. Here is another one of those unforgettable rules to just keep in your pocket this week. Much prayer, much power. Little prayer, little power. It's that simple. The depth of your private prayer life directly dictates the public power you're going to have over your daily struggles. You literally cannot bypass the secret place of prayer and expect to see massive public results.
And that leads us perfectly into our final section, Section 5, the formula for power. Let's take all of this rich historical context and drop it squarely into your reality for this upcoming Monday morning.
The bottom line is this. True revival is not just some beautifully curated, highly emotional Sunday morning experience with incredible stage lighting. It demands total surrender. It requires a genuine clearing out of your daily sins in the secret place when absolutely nobody else is holding a camera and nobody else is watching. The artificial church is perfectly content stopping at the aesthetic, but real revival demands your entire heart behind closed doors.
I want to leave you with this provocative question to chew on the next time you hit a wall. When you're facing a real problem, do you immediately seek likes, validation, and human approval? Or do you lock yourself in secret to cry out for real power? It's a challenge we all have to face. Are you just artificially managing your image, or are you genuinely pursuing world-changing revival? Thanks so much for hanging out for this explainer. Keep chasing the real thing, and we'll catch you next time as we continue breaking down the sources that actually matter.